Atomic Habits by James Clear. Part 1. The Fundamentals. Have you ever wondered why some people keep getting better, while others feel stuck no matter how hard they try? In Atomic Habits, James Clear shares a powerful truth. Lasting change does not come from big decisions or sudden transformations. It comes from small, consistent habits that compound over time. In Part 1 of the book, James Clear explains that just like money grows with compound interest, small habits grow into major life changes when repeated daily. The problem is that most people focus on goals instead of systems. But goals are just outcomes. Systems are the processes that lead to those outcomes. If you want real progress, you need better systems, not just bigger goals. Then comes a breakthrough idea. True habit change is identity change. Most people focus on what they want to achieve, but James says, focus on who you want to become. Instead of saying, I want to lose weight, say I am a healthy person. Instead of saying, I want to write a book, say I'm a writer. Every small action is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Change becomes easier when it is tied to your identity. Finally, Clear introduces the habit loop. It is made up of 4 steps. The cue is what triggers your habit. The craving is the desire behind the habit. The response is the action you take. The reward is what satisfies you and encourages you to repeat the habit. Understanding this loop helps you design better habits and break the ones that are holding you back. The key message in Part 1 is simple. Small daily habits shape your identity and determine your future. If you want to improve your life, do not focus on the results. Focus on becoming the type of person who naturally achieves those results, one small habit at a time. Stay tuned as we explore the next part of Atomic Habits and help you build a better life through simple, powerful steps. Part 2, the first law, make it obvious. Now that we understand how small habits shape who we become, James Clear takes us deeper into how habits are formed, starting with the first law of behavior change. Make it obvious. Habits begin with a cue, something that triggers the behavior. The problem is, many of our bad habits are invisible to us. They run on autopilot. So the first step to changing them is to become aware of them. James introduces a simple tool called the habit scorecard. It's a way to list your daily routines and label them as good, bad, or neutral. When you can see your habits clearly, you can start to take control of them. Next, he shares one of the most practical strategies in the book, implementation intentions. It is not enough to say you want to start a habit. You need to be specific. Say exactly when and where you will do it. For example, instead of saying I want to exercise, say I will go for a walk at 6 p.m. in the park. When you plan your habits this way, you make them obvious and hard to ignore. Another powerful idea is habit stacking. This means pairing a new habit with one you already do. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will read 1 page of a book. This works because your existing habits are already part of your routine. Stacking a new habit on top of an old one makes it more natural and automatic. James also reminds us that our environment often shapes our behavior more than motivation does. If you want to change your habits, design your space to support them. Put healthy snacks on the counter. Leave your workout clothes by the door. Make the cues for your good habits impossible to miss. Finally, to break a bad habit, do the opposite. Make the cues invisible. If you want to watch less TV, hide the remote. If you want to stop scrolling endlessly, remove social media apps from your phone. Out of sight often means out of mind. The first law teaches us this: you cannot change a habit you do not notice. By making good habits obvious and bad ones invisible, you take the first step toward lasting change. Coming up next, we will explore the second law of behavior change, how to make your habits attractive, so you actually want to follow through. Part 3, the second law, make it attractive. Now that you know how to make a habit obvious, James Clear introduces the second law of behavior change, make it attractive. Why? Because we are more likely to repeat behaviors that feel rewarding. If a habit feels good, we crave it. But if it feels boring or difficult, we avoid it, no matter how good the outcome may be. This is where motivation starts to take shape. At the heart of this law is the idea that habits are a response to a craving, and cravings are driven by what we associate with the behavior. So to build good habits, you need to make them something you want to do, not just something you should do. One of the most effective strategies James shares is temptation bundling. This means linking something you want to do with something you need to do. For example, if you love watching Netflix but want to start cycling, you can allow yourself to watch your favorite show only while riding a stationary bike. Over time, the good habit becomes more attractive because it's connected to something you already enjoy. James also highlights the power of social influence. We tend to imitate the habits of the people around us, especially those in our family, our culture, or those we admire. If you want to build a new habit, surround yourself with people who already live that way. Want to eat healthier? Spend more time with health-conscious friends. Want to grow your business? Connect with people who think like entrepreneurs. The behaviors that are normal in your tribe become more attractive to you too. And when it comes to breaking bad habits, the key is to reduce their appeal. Often our cravings are based on a distorted story we've told ourselves. For instance, you may crave junk food because you associate it with comfort or celebration. But when you start to reframe those cravings and remind yourself of the long-term cost, the habit loses its pull. The big lesson in part 3 is this: make your good habits feel desirable and your bad habits feel less appealing. Because it is not just about willpower. It is about designing your habits in a way that your brain finds hard to resist. Next up, we will look at the third law of behavior change: how to make your habits easy, so you remove the friction and finally get consistent. Part 4, the third law, make it easy. So far, we've learned how to make good habits obvious and attractive. Now, in part 4 of Atomic Habits, James Clear introduces the third law of behavior change: make it easy. When most people try to build better habits, they think they need to be more disciplined or more motivated. But the truth is, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And the best system is the one that removes resistance and makes the habit effortless. James explains that the key to making habits stick is to focus on repetition, not perfection. The number of times you do a habit matters more than how well you do it. If you want to become a writer, write every day, even if it's just a sentence. If you want to get in shape, show up to the gym, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Action builds identity. The more you repeat a habit, the more it becomes who you are. To make habits easier to do, James introduces the 2-minute rule. This rule says, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Want to read more? Start by reading 1 page. Want to run every morning? Start by putting on your running shoes. These small actions are gateway habits. They lead you into a deeper routine. Once you start, it's much easier to keep going. He also talks about the law of least effort. As humans, we naturally gravitate toward the path of least resistance. So design your environment to make good habits easy. Lay out your clothes the night before. Keep healthy food in plain sight. Automate what you can. The easier a habit is, the more likely it will happen without a struggle. And if you want to break a bad habit, increase the friction. Make it harder. Delete the app. Unplug the TV. Make the behavior inconvenient, so it disrupts your routine instead of fitting into it. The lesson is clear. Make good habits as simple and convenient as possible. Remove the obstacles. Focus on starting. Master the art of showing up, because consistency beats intensity every time. In the next part, we will explore the 4th law of behavior change: how to make your habits satisfying so they stick for the long haul. Part 5, the 4th law, make it satisfying. We've explored how to make habits obvious, attractive, and easy. Now, in Part 5 of Atomic Habits, James Clear shares the 4th law of behavior change. Why does this matter? Because what is immediately rewarded gets repeated, and what is immediately punished gets avoided. Our brains are wired to prioritize short-term pleasure over long-term benefit. So to build a lasting habit, you need to make it feel rewarding right away. The key is to create a positive feedback loop. When a habit feels satisfying, your brain wants to do it again. Even small wins, like checking off a box or tracking your progress, give you a sense of accomplishment that keeps you motivated. But that's why James encourages using habit tracking. It's simple, visual, and powerful. Seeing a streak of successful days builds momentum. You don't want to break the chain. But satisfaction is not just about success. It's about identity reinforcement. Every time you complete a habit, you are proving to yourself that you're becoming the person you want to be. Whether it's writing, working out, or eating clean, each small win affirms your new identity. To make good habits satisfying, you can also use immediate rewards. For example, after you finish a workout, enjoy a smoothie. After a focused work session, take a short walk. Link the habit to something enjoyable to train your brain to associate effort with pleasure. And if you want to break a bad habit, make it unsatisfying. James suggests using accountability partners or creating habit contracts. If someone else is watching, or if there's a cost for slipping up, the behavior becomes less rewarding and more painful. And that discourages repetition. The big idea in part 5 is this: habits that feel good in the moment are more likely to stick. To create lasting change, you need more than discipline. You need results that feel rewarding, emotionally and mentally, right now.
Coming up next,
we'll dive into advanced strategies for making habits stick long-term and mastering the art of continuous improvement. Part 6, Advanced Tactics, how to go from being merely good to being truly great. Now that you've learned how to build better habits, James Clear closes Atomic Habits with advanced strategies for going beyond the basics, turning small improvements into mastery. The truth is, small habits can take you far, but excellence requires something more. One of the key ideas here is deliberate practice. You can't improve what you're not measuring. So once your habits are automatic, you need to review them, refine them, and push yourself beyond your comfort zone. James explains that successful people don't just work hard, they stay consistent and continuously tweak their system. They don't just repeat easy habits. They challenge themselves by making their routines just a bit harder, just a bit more focused, and just a bit more efficient. He also talks about the Goldilocks rule. We stay motivated when a task is not too hard, not too easy, but just right. The key is to find that sweet spot where you're being stretched but not overwhelmed. That's where growth happens. And when boredom sets in, champions still show up. Greatness isn't about being extreme. It's about staying steady, even when it's no longer exciting. Another powerful insight is knowing how to recover from failure. James reminds us, missing one day doesn't break a habit, quitting does. Everyone slips. The important part is to never miss twice. Get back on track immediately. Success is about showing up consistently, not being perfect. And finally, he stresses the importance of reflection and identity. Who you are becoming is far more important than what you are achieving. Habits are not just actions. They are a mirror of your beliefs. The goal isn't just to run a marathon. It's to become a runner. Not just to write a book, but to live as a writer. True change is identity change. So what's the final message? Big transformations don't come from big leaps. They come from small, smart, steady steps made consistently, shaped by your environment, guided by your values, and repeated until they shape the very core of who you are. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep showing up. Because in the end, every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you wish to become. Make comments and share this post.